Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Growth Factor. I'm so happy you're here. I don't know if you recognize this guy over here, but this is Joey Schwartz. And about 3 months ago, he started his own channel. It's animal-based eating for good health. And he's just trying to spread the word far and wide. And he's very educated. He has quite an incredible story of some things that happened to him. So I want to get right into it, Joey. How did you choose the lifestyle that you have right now?
Yeah, so thanks so much for inviting me on. I'm excited to do this. So yeah, I got into carnivore starting well, the whole journey sort of started at when I was around 16. My friends and I were getting into weightlifting, trying to get stronger. We quickly learned that diet was a fundamental component to putting on muscle and achieving optimal health, energy levels, all those things. And what we're finding out from the bodybuilding community was that you need a lot of carbohydrates, you need a lot of sugar, simple carbs. You need to eat very little fat, definitely no animal fat, very lean protein, chicken breasts, whey protein. And I did that because I've always been very disciplined. I always follow, what I want to when I put my mind to it. And what happened was I quickly saw a descendance in my health. I mean, it got really bad. My skin started getting bad. I had low energy levels. I was pretty anxious. Uh, yeah, it was really bad. And then I started learning about ketogenic eating. So I'm seeing randomized controlled trials where they literally have a group eating lots of carbohydrates and a group eating none. And what happens is the groups eating lower carbohydrates have augmented biomarkers in every single area, like whether it's lipid panels, A1C control, inflammation markers. Everything is better when you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates. So I say, okay, cool. I'm just gonna not eat carbs. That's fine. Uh, but I did something worse. I started eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of plants, a lot of cooking with a lot of olive oil. All this stuff is very, very toxic, as I soon found out from Paul Saladino. And the reason why these vegetables are so toxic and the reason why I was doing so poorly on them, getting even worse skin, even worse outcomes, is because vegetables are the parts of the plant that don't want to be eaten. They're the bulbs, the roots, the tubers, the stems, the leaves, all the parts of the plant that foster the growth of the fruit. And the fruit wants to be eaten so its seeds can germinate and spread, and the plant can sustain life. The vegetables, on the other hand, inflict biochemical warfare on anyone that eats them. They don't want to be eaten. They really mess you up when you eat them. It makes a lot of sense when you sort of apply that very simple logical lens to it. So that's what I did. I stopped eating vegetables. I said, this makes no sense. Vegetables cannot be good for us anymore, right? They don't want to be eaten. Unlike animals, they don't have the capacity to run away. So they, you know, are filled with all these toxins that they use to inflict harm in a different way. And as soon as I cut out the vegetables, as soon as I started eating only meat and fruit, I got a lot better. I mean, everything started improving. My life got so much better. I wasn't really anxious anymore. My skin got better. I was happier, more energy. It was just a huge life improvement. And it didn't just improve, it's one sort of thing. It didn't just improve my athletic performance or my emotional stability or my energy levels. It improved everything, just uplifted my life. And then when I eventually cut out the fruit, which was about 6 months later, I saw even more improvements. I mean, I feel like I feel like a superhero now. I feel like I can learn everything. I feel like I can just live a very, very happy life now, one that I was never able to live in the presence of plant consumption. So that's where I'm at now. I eat meat. I like actually raw meat a lot. And I'm really just enjoying life now, and trying to spread the message to people through YouTube, and just made an Instagram. So I'm, trying to do all that.
Okay. So I know there are a lot of people out there that are either vegan or vegetarian, or they really love their fruits and vegetables. So they're going to think that's nuts. Of course, we need fruits, vegetables, and nuts.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I guess, in plant eating, what's missing? What do you get in meat that you don't get in plants?
Oh yeah. So first, it's important to note that we've evolved as hypercarnivores. So for about 4.5 million years, we've been eating almost exclusively meat. As soon as we came down from the trees, we started eating animals, hunting, cooking, and there was very limited plant material. I mean, we've been in an ice age. We've been in times where we don't have access to plant foods. Plant foods are starvation foods. We would only eat them when we were extremely desperate, when there were no animals. So it's safe to say that we've evolved to eat meat, right? Since we've been doing it, we've evolved to do it, and we can't get everything that we need in plants. So you have the B vitamins, right? Vitamin B12, essential for brain function and just life. Vitamin D, you have D2 in plants, which doesn't convert well to D3, which is the bioavailable form of vitamin D. It's also a fat soluble vitamin. It's so important. Vitamin A, that's not in plants. You have amino acids like taurine, selenium, choline. You have all these things. And there's so much more. Omega-3 oil metabolism. You have ALA, which is in plants. That's not an omega-3 that we can use. We can only use DHA. And DHA is found in animal foods. Any nutrient you want, it's more bioavailable, meaning the body is better at using it when it's in animal foods. This is why vegans are deficient. Heme iron, non-heme iron is found in plants. Heme iron is found in animals. This is why vegans are so deficient. This is why they deteriorate so quickly with time. This is why they suffer so many diseases. It's because their diet is by definition deficient. We cannot survive for an extended period of time, definitely not thrive on a vegan diet, because it doesn't have things that humans need to live. It doesn't have things that we require.
Okay. And I want to ask about how you were struggling. Did you have any autoimmune, which by the way, I don't know if a lot of people are saying this or if anyone is, I'm sure they are. But when we talk about autoimmune, I include the mind, because I feel like if you have inflammation from what you're eating, for some people, it's arthritis. For some people, it's anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, doom, paranoia, depression. For some people, it's the skin breaking out with eczema or psoriasis. Yeah. And for others, it could be constipation issues because there's too much fiber. Who are we taught by that you need fiber? It's the cereal industry. You need, all these cereals, you need the fiber, you need these powders. What study has anyone ever read that says, take more Metamucil? That's what the doctors say. Take more and more and more Metamucil, or eat this cereal, which has added fiber, added vitamins. So when we look at the studies, I want to ask you about mental health, but also fiber. So what's your view? You're not getting enough fiber, Joey, maybe. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but.
Yeah, no, I think that approach is completely correct. And that autoimmune issues can involve the brain and other things, because what autoimmunity is it's the system essentially attacking itself. It's your own body going against itself. There's something going on wrong there. And the autoimmunity is interesting because I believe it is entirely underpinned by plant consumption. You have all these autoimmune issues, Crohn's, arthritis, all this stuff, MS even. There are people who cure MS. This thing is supposed to be uncurable. You're not supposed to ever come back from this. Parkinson's, people cure it with carnivore. And do you want me to get into why that works? Yeah. So okay. There's these things called lectins, right? Lectins and also gluten, which essentially what they do is they break down the epithelial layer in our intestines. So this essentially opens up the tight junctions in our intestines and the gut leaks. So you have these antigens that leak into the gut because of the lectins and gluten that you're eating. It opens them up, and now you have these foreign invaders that interact with the body. So when lectins seep into your system, they're these foreign particles that we build an immune response to, and we develop antibodies to target them. The problem is that when your body is attacking the lectins, they look strikingly similar to the antigens found on healthy cells. So your body's attacking the lectins. They've seeped past the intestinal layer, and your body's attacking them. It knows that it's foreign invaders, but the antigens on those cells look similar to the antigens on healthy cells. So it starts attacking everything that's healthy. You eat a vegan diet, you get this leaky gut because you're eating a ton of fiber, a ton of gluten, a ton of lectins, oxalates, phytoestrogens, glycoalkaloids, all these toxins that are in plants, tons of carcinogens. Plants don't want to be eaten. They inflict biochemical warfare on you. This is what happens. Your gut opens up and you become susceptible to all these terrible things, all these inflammatory cascades. As these chemicals get in, you have, like I said, molecular mimicry. When your body attacks its healthy cells, this underpins autoimmunity, which is why you take any autoimmune condition, it reverses on carnivore. Something like 85% of people go vegan and switch back to eating meat. It's not because a vegan diet is too exclusive. It's not because of that. Vegan diet, there's like thousands of plants that you could eat. It's not like it's hard to eat a vegan diet. There's tons of variety, but the problem is it's deficient. So there's not essential nutrients on a vegan diet. So again, you go carnivore, people never go back to vegan. Like this stuff never happens. There's tons of studies, like I said, reversing arthritis, bipolar, like anything you could think of that's an example of the body inflicting harm on itself, it's reversing.
I wanted to ask you about your own mental health. I'll share real quick mine. So I was vegan, then I was vegetarian because we were taught being healthy. I mean, this is like the 80s, 90s. Being healthy means plant-based. That's the only thing healthy. Meat is bad. It's going to cause colon cancer, heart attacks, and all kinds of problems. And then I just realized I needed meat for some reason. I even would donate blood to the Red Cross and they would reject me a lot of the time. And I had to remember, okay, I have to have meat this week because otherwise I'm not gonna be able to donate my blood. It doesn't have enough iron. And as you said, only meat has heme iron. And also the brain is made up of cholesterol. Although what we eat the cholesterol does not cross the blood-brain barrier, we still need to consume cholesterol, which you can't get in plants. Cholesterol is only in animal products. Animals make their own cholesterol, and also you need to consume it. So I noticed a difference in my mental state. And sometimes I still kind of go there. I'll get a little bit of pangs of anxiety or doom. And I just have to change what I'm eating and increase. I'm not a carnivore. I'm not a keto. I'm just a person who drastically increased my meat because I want to get rid of the anxiety and doom feeling. And it works because the things you said, Joey, it's the only foods, red meats, that have heme iron, and the and you were saying like it's called DHA and the fats that we need for our brain and coating our organs. You know, we need fat everywhere in our joints. But so I want to ask you about that. My son, you mentioned Crohn's. It's very interesting you said that because I have about 6 friends. All the friends I have that are Crohn's are vegan. One of them was young. I think he was 18 or 19 when he started to have Crohn's. It's when he was vegan. So it's very interesting. I don't know how to relate it. Do you know anything about the gut, Crohn's? One more thing I was going to say is my son, the pediatrician, because of what was going on in the bathroom with one of my sons, he said, oh, he probably has irritable bowel, IBS or IBD, irritable bowel disease. So I just thought, okay, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to look into medications. I'm just going to look into food. So I've drastically changed his foods, and now the doctors have nothing to say. He's doing great. But I want to ask you about Crohn's and first the gut.
Okay, yeah. Crohn's reverses on carnivore almost every time. You know, when I was getting into carnivore and I was looking through Reddit subreddits, trying to understand, you know, what is carnivore doing for people? It's reversing Crohn's. I mean, that's like the #1 thing. And, you know, there are YouTube videos. I was looking at YouTube videos, reverse my Crohn's in 1 month after eating animals. Like, this is so real. If anyone has Crohn's, if anyone out there has Crohn's, they need to try carnivore. They need to try it for at least, you know, give it 2 months. Your Crohn's will get so much better. And there's actually there's like actual trials, like clinical trials. Here, I'll show one.
Oh, thanks.
So there's this clinical trial that was done by Paleomedicina. They're this Hungarian clinic, and so they reversed I think a 14-year-old's Crohn's pretty fast. And you know, this is, people say this has no cure, but they did it. I mean, people are doing it, and it's actually documented. What veganism does is it worsens Crohn's. Plant-based diets worsen Crohn's, you know, terribly. So, you know, yeah. If, you know, any of these issues, it's absolutely essential, you know, at least trying carnivore and seeing what it can do.
You know what you're reminding me, Joey, is I'm realizing, I know there are people who don't want to sacrifice animals. They think it's gross, it's bloody, it's not right, it's cruel. But I'm realizing that if we don't sacrifice animals, we might be sacrificing our own family's health. Because like I said, with my son, it seems like if we're having too much fruits and vegetables, grains, rice, whatever, eating very healthy plant-based, for some of us, it doesn't work. And the reason I'm saying that is Dr. Terry Wahls. Do you know Wahls, W-A-H-L-S? Do you know her?
I don't.
So you just said Crohn's can be reversed with carnivore. I did not know that. I've looked up fibromyalgia and multiple sclerosis. This doctor, she's known all around the world. She's written, I think, 2 books called the Wahls Protocol. You just said Crohn's is irreversible, they think, but it's now being reversed with proper foods. She did the same thing. She was vegan. She was plant-based, very healthy. And she started eating liver once a week. She recommends 6 to 8 ounces, no more than that, she said, and grass-fed beef every day. And she does eat certain carbohydrates, like I think yams, and I don't remember what else, but she does have certain plants, but only certain ones. And it's interesting. I don't know if I already said this, but of the 6 Crohn's people, oh, I did kind of say this, but I'll tell you what the family said. So one was a young man, 18, 19 years old. He started being vegan. Crohn's came out. The doctor said, you need to take these medications. I don't remember which injections or pills he had to take. It was quite a few. And when they came back to the doctor about a month later, the doctor said, oh, you're doing great. The medicines are working. And the family said, nope, all we did was change his diet. And they didn't say they were carnivore, but they definitely added meat back in. And it's called the specific carbohydrate diet. So maybe there's carbohydrates that are okay. I don't really know. But I also want to talk about linoleic acid, because a lot of times vegans are eating so much linoleic acid because of the seed oil. So I want to talk to you about that. I can do a screen share, but also I've read that linoleic acid can affect our mind mentally. So it can bring out the doom, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, because it's a PUFA, it's a polyunsaturated fatty acid. And supposedly we're supposed to have more, you might not agree, Joy, I don't know, with olive oils, the monounsaturated fatty acid. So I want to ask you about that, just linoleic acid. Do you know anything how it affects the body or mental health? And I can do a screen share.
Yeah, linoleic acid is the predominant omega-6, as you said, source in the Western diet. It's highly inflammatory. It's found in seed oils. Yeah, like as you show right here, the amount that's in seed oils is it's kind of astounding. When I was learning about vegetable oils, that's what like enabled me to go on this whole journey. It was learning about vegetable oils, and obviously a crucial component to learning about vegetable oils is the linoleic acid content. So you have these, it was actually interesting. You have these native populations, like there's certain groups who of hunter-gatherers, and you check the amount of linoleic acid in their tissues. So what you're finding is that, it's maybe like 4% or something. And I don't know what the exact metric is or what this is measuring, but in the average American, it was like 19 to 20% linoleic acid found in one aspect of some tissue. I'm kind of blinking on it, but just the amount of linoleic acid that we accumulate in our body is extremely detrimental. And you can also look at the effect of vegetable oils as a whole instead of isolating linoleic acid, because what vegetable oils do is they essentially disrupt the electron transport chain and energy production, oxidative phosphorylation, which accounts for 90% of our energy, devastates the cardiolipin in the mitochondria. It destroys our mitochondria, our ability to produce energy, oxidized fat. It's like vegetable oils are the poison of the world. I mean, the introduction of them might be one of the biggest human catastrophes in our modern day, because they have led to just a horrible deterioration in human health.
So what I've read about, I haven't read a ton about linoleic acid, but for vegans and carnivores, it can be a problem. So for carnivores, I think it's turkey, chicken, and pig that are high in linoleic acid, and the red ruminant meats are not, the ones with the 4 stomachs and the split hooves. And supposedly we really haven't been eating chicken and turkey for that long. We used to eat the eggs, and then suddenly people started eating the birds and not realizing. So what I've heard from health experts, and I'm going to interview one soon, that when a patient, when the client starts to say, I'm stuck, I can't really lose weight, I'm kind of reaching a plateau of where I've been, they'll recommend stopping linoleic acid, which again, like I said, is turkey, pig, chicken, and then the seed oils that you talked about. And because I looked up studies, it says it causes excessive inflammation. So it can be obesity, it can be heart disease, eating these seed oils or these particular kinds of meat. What do you think of there are people who say you should just have coconut oil, olive oil, and butter, and avocado oil. What do you think of the oils?
The oils aren't good because they don't have the fat soluble vitamins. Oils are found in plants. The fats are found in animals. And what you get from butter, tallow, lard is you get fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K2. And what you get in oils is inflammation. So, and especially when you heat them up. So you heat up olive oil, it runs rancid, it oxidizes in your body. You should never cook with olive oil ever. You should only cook with butter and animal fats. Because because of what happens when you cook them. So I stick to animal fats only.
And have you studied or read or seen anything on mental health? Because I'm starting to see more and more psychiatrists that usually they personally had a journey where they suddenly were bipolar, or they were starting to have mental health issues usually at a certain age, like in their 20s in college. They'll either lack sleep, or I don't know what happens. I feel like maybe in our youth we can eat whatever we want, and then we get to a certain age where our brain and body says, this is too much inflammation for me. Yeah. So I was wondering, did you have your own personal mental health journey, and have you studied any of this? And then I'll explain what I've learned too.
Oh yeah. I have studied it, and it makes so much sense. You know, a common ideology was that humans with depression, anxiety, bipolar, various psychiatric issues are born with them, and that they're heritable via genetics, of course. But of course, this is wrong. You're not born with depression or anxiety or bipolar. What you're born with is a potential predisposition to experience those. So, for example, if I eat a diet that's identical to my friend's diet, he might get bipolar and I might not. But again, it's the triggers that are causing the bipolar. You're not, if you eat a natural human diet, like you're not gonna get these psychiatric issues that are literal chemical and hormonal imbalances, problems within the brain. These are environmental things, which is why when people go carnivore, when even people go keto, these problems reverse. I mean, there's been more and more studies showing the effect of nutritional ketosis on psychiatric issues. It lowers inflammation in the brain. You're not eating sugar. Your GABA glutamate balance is finally resolved, which is why you see people with epilepsy. That's what ketosis was eventually used for, to help fix epilepsy. My teacher was getting epileptic episodes in our school. I said, go keto. He did, and now he doesn't get them anymore. I mean, the power of nutrition on our mental state and mental health can't be overlooked. And as for my own, I used to be pretty anxious, kind of nervous to talk to people. And now I'm more confident and mentally stable than ever. So I don't have a completely life-changing reversal. I know you have a much cooler one than I do, but still the changes were very drastic in my life.
Well, that is significant, because actually in my youth, I was just like you. I would get nervous to talk to people. I mean, being in Toastmasters helped tremendously. If anyone is afraid of public speaking, I was so bad. My face would turn red. I would get sweaty. And being in Toastmasters helped tremendously, because it just helps you practice. But I was like that too, Joey. I would be nervous most of my life. I'd have anxiety, meeting new people, even sometimes around friends, or being even a small table of 3 people, and they say, go around the room, tell us about yourself. My heart would just go up. And I do feel like you. Again, I'm not carnivore, I'm not keto. I just drastically increase my meat. I try to have it as much as possible. I try to eat rib meat now, beef. Nice. I also try to eat lamb, like lamb chops. And it's really hard. What would you say to a vegan? It's very hard for them to let it go, because you're very young. I'm surprised how quickly you learned. But for those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s, we learned in the 80s, eat low fat, and all these low fat products came out. We thought fat was bad. Fat is bad. Counting calories is good. We didn't know. We thought that animal products were horrible and high fiber is good. So if you can tell me, actually, let's talk about fiber first. Do we need to have fiber, and what does it do to us in the bathroom?
Oh my God. Fiber, we can't digest it. You take a gorilla, it uses its fiber to make short chain fatty acids and uses it for energy. We can't use fiber.
What does a gorilla do? What do you mean?
It eats the fiber, like from the leaves and the plants, because it's an herbivore, and it uses that fiber to create energy, to short chain fatty acids. That's how it lives. What happens when we eat fiber is we don't use it for energy. It goes into our system and we poop it right out. We don't we can't use the fiber for energy for anything. All that it does is it wreaks havoc on our gut, and especially the foods that contain the fiber contain other phytochemicals that are just extremely problematic for human physiology. Versus meat, for example, when you eat a steak, right, this stuff is absorbed in the small intestine. It's all absorbed. Steak and meat are pure nutrition, right? So we can use all of it for our fuel. Fiber, not at all. We don't need it. It's absolutely not essential. It's not healthy in any way. The only reason why people think fiber is good is because in the context of eating lots of carbohydrates, if you don't eat fiber, for example, if you eat a fruit juice as opposed to the fruit itself, you get a faster blood sugar spike because it absorbs faster into the bloodstream. Versus if you eat fiber, it's a slower absorption. But regardless, all that you're doing when you eat fiber is you're making your poops bigger. You're pooping more often. That's what fiber does. It's not good for humans. It's not meant for us to eat. We're supposed to eat meat.
Yeah, I would say that before increasing my meat drastically, I thought I had constipation problems. I guess we don't all really know how often you're supposed to go. But once I started doing that, first of all, I can volunteer for the Red Cross now. I never have problems with my iron. And second, in the bathroom, I don't have problems anymore. And there's a lot less of it because I think the body is using so much of these nutrients versus the more plant-based I was, like you said, it would bulk up the stool. I guess a lot of it I wasn't using. That's why sometimes there was so much in the toilet, and I was always trying to figure out, should I do prunes? Should I do Metamucil? But I never looked up the studies. And then when I saw you mentioned Dr. Paul Mason, I think his name is, in one of your videos, which, by the way, we should talk about your show too in a moment. Dr. Paul Mason goes over the fiber study, and he shows SAD, standard American diet, and then he shows high fiber, and then he shows the carnivores. And people laugh because he said, this is not a mistake in the chart. Carnivores had zero constipation because I guess they're getting the vitamins and minerals that they need. There's even vitamin C in the meats, typically the organs, and there's, you know, limited to no fiber. I don't know, maybe meat has a little bit of some sort of fiber. I have no idea. But basically it allows the gut to work properly and normally. So have you noticed a difference there too?
Oh yeah. And it's all very intuitive, isn't it? I mean, why would the optimal diet be one in which you excrete everything that you eat? Wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't it make sense that you eat food? I eat 3 pounds of meat a day, and I don't have a stool really. So like, what does that tell you? It tells you that my body is using the nutrients. It's actual nourishment, versus vegans who have these digestive issues and, you know, massive stools, which I think are good for them for whatever reason. But it shows that your body can't use what you're feeding it, that you're lacking nutrients because, you know, your body's just moving it out.
Yeah, and I don't mean to get graphic, but also before being, you know, sort of carnivore, I would have to wipe. Now I don't have to wipe.
Yeah.
I'm saying
yeah,
I do, but
it's
there's
really...
never anything there. And excuse me for getting graphic, but it's interesting that I guess my stomach was always a little bit upset when I wasn't eating, you know, a tremendous amount of meat. Now it seems to be just, I don't know, it's healthy, it's normal, and everything seems good. So I also want to ask you about keto versus carnivore. I don't really understand it. I don't pay attention to that stuff. I notice a lot of people are going from vegan, eating more meats, or going from keto, eating carnivore. What's the difference?
Oh yeah. So keto allows for plant foods. Keto allows for avocados and olive oil and coconut oil and all the low carb vegetables. And while this can do amazing things for a lot of people, it can really like help people's lives. You know, you see tons of people reversing bipolar, eating a regular keto diet, because of the effect it has on your mental state. The problem is that for a lot of people, they don't heal until they go full carnivore. And the reason is because all those plant foods that I mentioned, the things like broccoli, the greens, the spinach, the cauliflower, the peppers, all these things are still wreaking havoc on your biological systems because of the anti-nutrients and the you know, chemicals that are found within them that are meant to make you infertile, that are meant to kill you. That's what the plant wants them to do to you, versus the meat, which is, you know, optimal human nutrition. So there aren't too many studies. All that I can say is, from being in this space for like, I don't know, 1.5 years, reading everything that I can find, looking for the information, looking on Reddit, talking to tons of people, what I can say is that a lot of people, while a lot of people do well on keto, the real healing comes when you cut out the really toxic plant foods, especially, you know, some of those vegetables, which are pretty bad.
You know, I remember maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, Joey, I used to make a lot of smoothies, but I remember reading somewhere that don't put spinach in your smoothies or don't mix it with other foods because spinach will block calcium, zinc, and magnesium. And I remember not really understanding that and just thinking, okay, I guess I won't add spinach to my smoothies, but I never thought seriously about it that, wow, a supposedly healthy food, we're supposed to eat spinach, right? We're supposed to eat plant-based, would block other nutrients. That doesn't sound very safe. Do you have any information about that?
Yeah, it's the oxalates found in spinach, and they really do bad things. Like the oxalates are one of the worst ones. Yeah, I don't have too much about spinach off the top of my head.
I just meant plants in general, the oxalates.
Yeah. Oxalates.
Because I do remember learning about the oxalates, like you said, the lectins. A lot of people think my family's so healthy, we're vegan, we eat like how you're supposed to eat, but it turns out a lot of people don't know about oxalates and lectins, and that it can mess with the gut microbiome. So it either messes up your gut or causes inflammation somewhere. Like I said, you know, the joints, the brain. When you have inflammation somewhere, like let's say you got a bloated stomach, problems in the bathroom, you got inflammation, something's wrong. And it's what we're eating. We have to look at what we're eating and not ignore it.
Yeah, so I actually did some research on oxalates now that I just had to pull it up. So there was a study that took 40 healthy participants and like randomized them to 2 control groups. And what they found was a high oxalate group experienced more inflammation. Keep in mind, inflammation is the thing that underpins essentially all chronic diseases. They all stem from this idea of inflammation. So that's a pretty big thing. And another study found, high dietary oxalate caused mitochondrial dysfunction in patients with and without kidney stones. So oxalates are pretty bad things. I mean, there's no doubt that oxalates are bad. The thing is that a lot of people believe that the benefits from oxalate-rich foods like spinach outweigh the detriment, which is just completely false because they don't have things that meat doesn't have. They're not very nutrient dense. They inhibit the absorption of other nutrients. All the while, they're destroying your gut and depositing in all these parts of your body, causing arthritis. So you don't want to eat oxalate-rich foods. Definitely not.
All right. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Because, I'm just trying to figure out like everybody else. I think the bottom line is that we've given plants too much of the benefit of the doubt. There was a trend and it's starting to fall away from people like you. I want to talk about your show in a moment too, but I think we only have like 3 minutes left. We always thought that fruits and vegetables are the way to go, but you should see one of Joey's videos. He went over these fruitarians and the man's teeth are falling apart. He looks homeless, very thin and emaciated. He said people think he's anorexic, and his wife's with a cane. I don't know her situation. It could be she was in an accident or something, but it looked like they were inflamed. So can you talk about your show real quick in the last 2 minutes, how people can reach out to you if they need advice?
Yeah. So my channel is called Carnivore Camaraderie. I just talk about the carnivore diet, why we should be on it. I have really interesting conversations with people who have been doing this for a long time, who are really smart, much more knowledgeable than I am. And I try to spread the good message. I try to dissuade people from being vegan because I think it's one of the worst things that anyone could do, period. It's a really, really bad idea. I really try to emphasize this as much as I can. Don't be vegan. Please don't. It is the worst thing you can do for yourself. So yeah, that's my message. I'm really trying to help people. That's really what I want to do with all this. I found the right answer. So did you. Animals heal people and plants are doing the harm that we don't want to admit. So yeah, it's been great being here and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. The last thing I was going to say was, please, of course, subscribe and hit the bell on Joey's show as well, because then you'll be alerted when there's more wonderful interviewers like Joey. But I also wanted to say that, and I'll put his show in the description as well, just in case you have trouble finding it. But the last thing I was going to say is, if you do know anyone with bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, any mental health issues, look into the carnivore diet. Look on YouTube and Rumble and the internet. You will actually find patients and doctors, psychiatrists, using food to heal. And it's not plants. It's mostly the fats of meat, because the brain needs certain nutrients that plants don't have.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joey. Thank you, everyone, for being here.